Yeah, we've probably got time to seat them, for sure. And Tim. Amo? Not Emil, eh?
I want to thank you all for coming, and you're going to have a very special evening tonight. You're going to see something wonderful. And I want to thank a few people in our community: Crossroads Church, C2 Financial Group, Siletz Bay Music Festival, Orient Pacific Bank, Florence Fest 2018, Franz Family Fund, Florence Masonic Lodge 107, the Florence Liberty Alliance, Siuslaw News Grocery Outlet, City Light Cinema, Annie Schmidt, International Seafood Restaurant, City Light Cinema, it happens to be in there twice, Harriet and Dick Smith, and props provided courtesy of Pat Sapp Vintage Blue Warehouse, and the chandelier. So tonight, as some of you may know, is hopefully the beginning of something that can grow. And to set up that story and tell you about it is the director of the Siletz Bay Music Festival, Mark, and Yaki Bergman, who is the musical director of the Siletz Bay Music Festival. And with that, I invite them to come out. Mark and Yaki, please.
Good evening. We're thrilled to be here. My name is Mark Sanders. I'm the executive director with Siletz Bay Music Festival. Those of you who do not know, we just finished up 15 performances in 14 days in the greater Lincoln City area. So actually we're on day 2 of decompression here. So I just want to give you a little background on how this performance and these sorts of performances can grow. We started just 6 years ago, 4 days. We had 400 attendees over those 4 days. Through Yaki and the board of directors at the time, the vision and the dream was set into motion. And fast forward 6 years later, again, just finishing up 3 days ago, we had over 2,200 attendees. Now, the beauty with this is that it's a huge accomplishment. The beauty with this is that Siletz Bay Music Festival brings in not just the local community, embraces the local community and the businesses, but we also bring people from more than 50 miles away. That brings room nights, lodging, occupancy tax, dining, shopping, all the ancillary spend that our coastal communities need desperately. And not just the Friday and Saturday night. It's Sunday through Thursday. So building the festival as we continue to grow and the partnerships that we have with our businesses, it's really become a benchmark for our community, both from a music and music education standpoint for our students, for our schools, and also creates a closer-knit community as well. So just all the best of luck. Embrace this. It's important. Studio to School, yes. Actually, it's a very nice grant through Oregon Community Foundation. We had a 3-year, $70,000 per year grant for the schools for music education. We brought music back to it. We made music mandatory for our 6th graders. We gave them instruments to play. It's such an accomplishment. We've hired teachers. The byproduct of that is that we have kids that are graduating, more children that are graduating. SAT scores are better, attendance is better, self-esteem is better. All the things that happen with music when you're reading and networking with those who you're reliant on somebody else. So there are greater things that happen as a result of music. It's a necessity. It's a breath for us. So again, thank you, and thank you for embracing this.
It is really not a secret anymore that music and the arts in general help young kids to develop scholastically and mentally and, in a way, physically, and as residents of the community in a much healthier way with a greater capacity to develop into, a better people in general. The arts really teach you a great deal and stimulate you and also establish friendship between you and the instrument, between you and colleagues, and help you to really kind of get to appreciate other forms of discipline in a very dramatic way. There's study after study that prove it again and again. And what happened in Lincoln City is just beyond belief. It's a textbook of a study, an experience that shows remarkable results. And I think that the arts needs to be rekindled in our society, especially in those communities that found that music and the arts are the first things to go in the school system. Then I cannot tell you personally how grateful I am and how gifted I feel by being able to really make music and build a festival in a community that needed it, not just for the sake of bringing art and music to it, but developing a mechanism, a festival that became the sponsor for such amazing contribution to the kids of the community, which some of them are homeless, some of them are coming from families that cannot afford anything. Then I must tell you, when I came yesterday to this wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful, charming town called Florence, I don't even mention anymore it's Oregon because it's as beautiful almost, not almost, as the one in Italy. You are in heaven.
You know, I have a flight on Sunday. Could we move this along?
To make a long... You will get to know this guy. Trust me. To make a long story short, it's a privilege being here, and I do hope that what we accomplished in Lincoln City at the Siuslaw we'll be able to build here. This is a community that is ripe for a beautiful music festival where adults and children can come and enjoy the different kind of arts. And I hope to see you in the next many, many, many summers. Thank you again for coming tonight.
You didn't introduce me. Yeah, nice going.
Not that I need to introduce him, but I will do it anyway.
Yes.
Ken Poplowski.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yaki Bergman. How many of you have been to the Siletz Bay Music Festival? 2 people. That's wonderful. Well, you're going to have to, okay, 3, 4. You're going to have to go next year because it is a fantastic festival of music in Lincoln City. Classical music, jazz music, comedy, you name it. And so what we're going to do tonight and tomorrow is, well, tonight's show, it's going to be a little informal. We're going to kind of give you a window into our lives as performers and talk a little bit about ourselves, and then play some music for you, go into songs, talk, and then we're going to bring on the great comedian Pete Barbuti. On the second half, he's going to do some of his material, and that's it. It's a night of fun. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah. And then tomorrow night is a straight-ahead concert. We're going to play the first half with a great quartet, playing all different material from what you'll hear tonight, too, incidentally. And then Pete's going to do a longer chunk of his act on the second half, too. So here we go. Let me get back here. So this is our area where we're going to be having a little conversation. Then we've got our music area. Let me go over here to the living room. If you'll join us. I'll take my throne that I'm accustomed to. And let me introduce my friends and fellow musicians. We have on drums a gentleman who was an alumnus of both the Stan Kenton and Woody Herman bands, Mr. Gary Hobbs. Gary. There you go. It's an interesting choice. Okay. On the bass, just an incredible virtuosic musician, Mr. Dave Capteen. you've probably recognized him from the Lord of the Rings movies. He's very popular in those. On the piano, a friend of mine from New York. We play together quite often there, and we travel together a lot. Mr. Ehud Asheri. And we have you wanted that chair. That's yours. You can't know that you chose that chair, my friend. That's your chair. He didn't want to sit in the director's chair. He wanted this one. Okay. On vocals, we have. Do you need a Dramamine, or you? Okay. On vocals, we have an incredible singer who I've known for quite a few years. She lives in the Bay Area, and she plays at festivals all over the world. And she just headlined at the Siletz Bay Festival. Miss Claire D. See, the true order. And then, what can I say about this next gentleman? My friend, the... Oh, of course, I said gentleman, I got that wrong. We have a great reed player from New York who also came and lives in... His parents come from this area, Mr. Aaron Johnson. All right. Now, this next guy, what can I tell you about him? Let me think. I might mention he was on the Tonight Show 63 times. 41 times on the Merv Griffin Show. 84 times on the Mike Douglas Show. 21 times on the David Letterman Show. What's at the Moose Lodge at Coos Bay? Mr. Pete Barbuti. All right, here we are. What an assemblage. Look, you've got the...
I want to say something.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Before we
Go ahead.
start.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you go to a show and it says the room isn't packed. And I'm going to tell you, this room seats almost 444 people. And you think, boy, it's not a very big crowd. We're not going to see a good show. Let me tell you something. I don't care if there are 444 people here. I don't care if there are 344 or 244. This is what we do for a living. And every time we step on these hallowed boards, we reach deep inside of us, and we render unto that audience the best show that we can from the bottom of our heart, and that's the truth, so help me God. However, looks like there are about 84 of you here, and that changes the whole goddamn deal. We're not going to kill ourselves for a crappy little crowd like this. I mean, first of all, if we do a stupid show, who the hell are you going to tell? There aren't that many of you here. So we're just going to play a medley of Neil Sedaka songs, and then we're going out to the camper to drink some Thunderbird wine. Okay, now
All right,
go
thank
ahead.
you. Thanks, Pete. That's because he cares.
Yes.
That's really, really nice. You know, we're gonna get into our first song very quickly, but I just want to talk to this assemblage and just ask you guys, like Gary, for example, how did you get from, let's say, high school into those big bands, those great big bands? How did that happen? That's enough.
Okay.
So, no, okay, go ahead.
I actually didn't start playing until my senior year of high school. And so I quickly followed my father and my grandfather's lead and ended up playing drums. Got involved with a couple really good college bands where I was mentored by some really great teachers. At the same time, I just started playing professionally, playing jazz and rhythm and blues. At that time, there was an organization called the International Jazz Educators Association, and I received some recognition at competitions, and what that did was I got the Outstanding Musician Award, which sent me to a Stan Kenton jazz camp in Springfield, Missouri. And Stan and some of the other players heard me, and Stan told me that he would hire me, and 3 years later, he hired me. That was my first step.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. That was a long and dull story. But no. But as you could probably guess, jazz musicians, and Pete counts as one of them. He's our hero. This guy performs a lot of jazz festivals, but we do have a dark sense of humor, and we insult each other mercilessly, especially when we like each other. So that's what this is about. It's like a little family, and we squabble. But your background, as you'll see, if you haven't seen him, I mean, you can go on YouTube now and see many performances by Pete. But you started out on the musician side of things, right?
Started out when everybody in our neighborhood, it was back in eastern Pennsylvania, and you know, all the Polish people lived in this section, all the Italians live here, the Irish live here, the Jewish live here. It was like segmented, like many small towns were. And so everybody in our neighborhood, if you were a girl, you had to take piano or violin lessons, and if you were a boy, you took accordion lessons. So I played the accordion, and I worked my first wedding when I was 11 years old. I worked a wedding. I remember the guy's name. His name was Fontini, Mickey Fontini, Michael. They called him Mickey Fontini, and he paid me $4, and he stiffed me. I never got the $4. So, but that was my first one, and then your teacher taught you classical, of course, but then you heard, you know, I heard jazz music and sort of fell in love with it and switched from the accordion to the piano, and then took up some other instruments on the road with the groups that I had. But yeah, my background is and my sense of humor. I did an album not too long ago, whatever, and I asked some friends to write some liner notes. And among them, Shecky Green, I think was the greatest comedian that ever lived, Buddy Hackett, Rich Little, and Henry Mancini. And Henry Mancini wrote the best thing of, you know, the other three guys are comics, but Henry Mancini said something to the effect that musicians' humor has always fascinated him because it comes up from a reality in the streets. It's born of something real. And comes up it's colored a certain way to appeal to a certain kind of person, and my humor has always been that way.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, from all of our crazy traveling, we're always looking for the absurd, right, in life, and I know that your humor is about that too.
Yeah.
And you know, funny things that happen, and you get bored on the road, and your little things stick in your mind. If I may, I'll just tell a story that I've told you. We did a panel discussion before. This is what happens on the big bands, for example, when you're traveling. I played, my first experience out of college was on the Tommy Dorsey band for 2 years of all one-nighters, 48 weeks out of the year, traveling in the bus. And the band leader was this great trombone player named Buddy Morrow. And you know, you're on the road that much, and we do what we would call hit and runs, where we'd play a venue. You don't get to check into the hotel until the next day. You travel 12 hours, you get to the next place. So we'd had a long string of traveling, and we were hungry. We were waiting because we were going to play this ballroom where there was a meal for the band before the thing, and that was our goal, to get to the meal. So we're tired and hungry and very jaded and very dark humored at this point. So we're playing this ballroom dance, and all of a sudden there's a commotion on the dance floor, and a guy had hit the ground, and so Buddy Morrow, the band leader, and they've got the paramedics coming, and Buddy Morrow, in his compassion, turned to the band and he said, "Well, let's eat." So we went to the band table, which is about this far from the guy, and we're hungry. So So, you know, we're over here eating, and we're saying, could you pass those mashed potatoes? And they've got the defibrillator out going, clear. Could I have some more of that gravy? So then we, and this is just funny now. So we get back up on the bandstand, and Buddy has got his back to the audience, and he's doing the fake conducting that every band leader does, just waving his arms, you know, taking requests, and somebody taps him on the shoulder. He goes, and he turns to the band like this as he's conducting. He said, "The guy died." And also, just quickly, and then we'll play a song. But same guy, Buddy Morrow. Again, this is from too many years on the road. I swear to God, this happened because I saw it happen. We play these venues, and sometimes you meet people once a year or once every 2 years, and they want, you know, do you remember me? Or they'll say, you know, May 3rd, 1970, and you don't know who they are. And sometimes you just want to be nice, and you say, yeah, good to see you again. And so we're playing another dance, and this lady's talking to Buddy Morrow, and he's being very nice. You're doing the, yeah, great, you're looking good, good to see you. And she looks and she says, you have no idea who I am, do you? And I could see him thinking, like, should I go with the truth? Should I? And he says, well, your face looks familiar, but I can't quite place you. She looks up at him and she says, I was your first wife, and storms off. And he turns to the band and he goes, like that. So anyway.
I had, you know, we do that, all of us have done that all the time, because you work a venue and then you come back 2 years later, 3 years later, and they walk up and say, remember me. Well, I was working Vancouver, I forget the name of the hotel that Howard Hughes used to stay at that was famous, the Bayshore Hotel in Vancouver. And it was a very big room. And there was another act on, a group that was, you know, sort of my opening act. And so I came off stage, and the waitress handed me a note, said, there's a girl here who remembers you when you worked the Cave, which is another club in Vancouver that I had worked with Nat King Cole and Mitzi Gaynor, and it was a big fancy club, you know. And I had worked it several times with these people. And so she was the hat check girl at the Cave when you worked there, and she wants to say hello. I said, well, that's nice, she remembers me, but now the other group was on. So I didn't want to go into the room and be talking to her about old times while this group is on. It's disrespectful. And so I just went up to my room, went down for the second show. I did my show. And again, I came off stage, and the other group is on. They're doing the last show there. And I said, I don't want to go and, you know, take anything away from them. And so the night ended. And I went up to my room, and I ordered room service. And I felt like drinking a bottle of beer. It was Canada. They have great beer. I said, send up a bottle of Molson's, too. And the room service guy said, hey, we can't send up a beer after a certain time. We can send up your sandwich, but why don't you go down to the bar? The bar is open for another 10 minutes. I said, okay, it'll take that long for my food to get here. So I put on my shoes or whatever again and ran down to the bar. And I said to the bartender, give me a couple bottles of Molson's in a bag. He said, all right. And I turned around and looked, and the room is empty. This room that's seated like 10,000 people. It's empty except for one person sitting in the middle. And I said, what's her story? He said, that's the girl who wanted to meet you. She remembered. I said, oh, my God, I feel so bad. So I went over to her, and I don't know her. I don't remember her. So I said to her, hey, how you doing? You're still in Vancouver, huh? And she says, yeah, you remember me? I said, well, yeah, sort of, you know. And she said to me, yeah, you were living at my house with my girlfriend, the cigarette girl. Now, I know she's got me mixed up with somebody else, but I've already said I remember you. And so I figure I'll tap dance a little bit and then get out of here. And so she says to me, you don't do the act with the parrot anymore. I never did an act with a parrot. I have no idea who she's talking about. So I said, no, I've been trying to do some new stuff, and, you know, and I had worked with the parrot, and she said, but I love that. She went on and on about the parrot. I love that parrot. That parrot was my favorite. So I said, I got to get out of this parrot thing. She's going to catch on that I'm just jiving. I don't know who she is. And so I said to her, you know, the parrot died. And the look on her face was a look of terror. And I said, I hit her too hard with that. So I backed up a little. I said, well, you know, all tropical birds get diseases. And sometimes they linger, sometimes you can cure them. And I said, and we worked with this parrot for a long, long time, and finally he just passed away. And she had to stare in her eye for a long time. Then she said to me, it was a puppet. My next words on my mouth were, yeah, but he was real to me. Oh, I gotta go. We've all done that. We've all pretended we know somebody.
All right, we're going to play a song.
Yeah.
You know, talking about the big band era, I had the pleasure of working with Benny Goodman in his last working band, and we're going to do a song or two associated with Benny. The first being his opening theme song called "Don't Be That Way." Why, thank you. Next time we got to get her a better seat for that, because just for the bravo alone, you know. Aaron, you're gonna. This is the first note right there. Okay, good. Yeah. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Johnson, Aaron Johnson, Yehuda Sherry, Gary Hobbs, Dave Capteen, Claire D. Thank you so much. So in Siletz Bay, we heard you do a wonderful tribute to Lena Horne, in addition to all the other great sets of music you did. But who influenced you as far as being a jazz singer, besides myself, of course?
Well, I was going to just say there was none other than Ken Poplowski
Yeah, well, okay.
who influenced me. But that aside, there are so many influences I had, both male and female singers. Nat Cole, I loved. Shirley Horne, Lena Horne, of course. Nancy Wilson. We were talking about Della Reese, Helen Humes, Ella Fitzgerald. I listened to everybody. And I learned just by listening to the greats on how to phrase music and what really good heartfelt singing was supposed to be.
But, of course, like all great singers, you've taken those influences and you sound like yourself, and
Thank you.
we're thankful for that, too.
Thank you.
Would you like to hear Claire D right now? Please.
I'd received a request for this song, and I thought, why not start with it? It's a Gershwin classic. Any Gershwin fans out there? All right. Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich, and your mom's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you are gonna rise up singing. You will spread your wings and take to the sky. Until that morning, ain't nothing here gonna harm you, no. Because Mama and Daddy are standing by. Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy is rich, yes he is, and your mom's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Don't you cry, baby. Thank you so much. This is one of my all-time favorite songs, made popular by Mr. Joe Williams and the Count Basie Orchestra. Yeah. Can you dig it? All right. Well, all right. Okay. You win. I'm in love with you. Well, all right. Okay. You win. Baby, what can I do? I'll do anything you say. Just got to be that way. Well, all right. Okay. You win. I'm in love with you. All right. Okay. You win. Sweet thing, what can I do? I'll do anything you say. Just got to be that way. But the first thing in the morning, you gotta wake me with a kiss. You got to make up for all that loving you have made me miss. All right, okay, you win. I'm in love with you. Well, all right, okay, you win, baby. What can I do? I'll do anything you say. Oh, it's just got to be that way. Hey! Ken Poplowski. All I'm asking, all I want from you is to love me, baby, like I love you, and it won't be hard to do. Hey, all right, okay, now you win. I'm in love with you. All right, okay, you win, baby. What can I do? I'll do anything you say. Pretty baby, let me take your hand. Hey, well, all right. Okay, you win. Yes, you do now. All right. Okay, you win. Hey, yeah. I'll do anything you say. Just got to be my man. Thank you
Claire
so
D.
much.
Beautiful. Claire D. Yes. That's fantastic. You know, incidentally, of course, that was a variation on the 12-bar blues, and there's a lot of song forms in jazz that are common and songs that are common. You said, just saying that beautiful rendition of Summertime. There's probably more jazz versions of Porgy and Bess than you'd know. I mean, Miles Davis did a great version of the whole record, and Jerry Mulligan has, Gil Evans, it goes on and on. So many people. Barney Kessel did a record of Porgy and Bess.
I think there's one too, Kenny, that's kind of obscure. There's a writer from Washington, D.C., Bill Potts.
Oh.
And he did a jazz soul Porgy and Bess, and under ideal conditions. They gave him a year to write the arrangements, and so the band was just, the rhythm section was Charlie Persips and Bill Evans.
That's right.
Yeah, it was
One of my favorite versions, actually, of that.
Richard Davis on bass. It was
right.
an amazing.
Zoot Sims, Al Cohen, Phil Woods.
Yeah. Phil Woods and Gene Quill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So actually, that's a great record to seek out. That's on CD now, too. The Jazz Soul of Porgy and Bess.
Yeah,
Bill Potts.
it's the only non-classical rendition of Porgy and Bess that's in the Gershwin library. Yeah, all the others are not in the library. That one's in the library.
Yeah.
And you should get that if you can.
Yeah.
I have some copies in my car if you want to come out there
That's
later.
very convenient of you. Yeah, that's right. Let me ask Aaron a question. Could you move? Okay. Are you comfy? Do you want to? No. You have to stay here. No. This is you. It's a good look. Really? Can we get you anything while you're relaxing? He'd like some fruit. Does anybody have any fruit they'd like to lob up at? Okay. No, but Aaron, I hate to play the age card, but you're in your 20s or 30s?
I'm
26
years old.
26 years old. So people probably want. Why are you applauding that?
No, don't applaud.
That has nothing to do with him being 26 years old.
Don't applaud to that. You see that?
Yeah.
You have reeds older than him.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah. So, no, but they'd probably like to know, like, how did you get into jazz? Like, who were you listening to? Or was it in school? Did you hear it? Or how did that happen?
Well, I grew up in Coos Bay, which is an hour south of here, and when I was, 10 years old, I joined the school band, and there was another sort of after-school band.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. Wow. Now that is service. Jeez. Yeah. Wait, excuse me for 1 second. I'd really like a pizza. I don't know if... yeah. Okay, please.
Well, I started doing an after-school jazz band, and then seeing as Coos Bay is a small town, everybody kind of knows each other, and so I met through the grapevine a retired musician named Matt Utall, who retired to Coos Bay in the late 80s. He had spent 40 years in the Les Brown band as the lead alto player, and was a woodwind doubler, so he played flute and clarinet and saxophone, and he was on staff at NBC for a lot of the TV shows, Laugh-In, Dean Martin Show, Jerry Lewis, and so, just meeting him and studying with him from the age of 10 or so, yeah.
And when did you move to New York?
Right after my 17 or 18th birthday, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you moved to New York, did you know people there, or did you just come to see what happened? What would happen? Or?
Well, I had went to a boarding school in Michigan called Interlochen, and it was for classical musicians, and I studied clarinet there. And then I dropped out of high school, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody. And then I went to Portland for a year, where I just kind of tried to do as much playing as possible. And then I ended up getting a scholarship to music school. And then I went to New York and promptly dropped out of music school. And
Hey, not always the worst thing in the world. But New York is so crazy because there's so many musicians there and people moving there all the time that it took me until, I guess, last year or so we finally met on a record date, and I was just blown away by this guy's playing. It was just amazing to hear him play. So, we're trying to...
I was very scared going to that record date.
Oh, no, you shouldn't have been. But he played incredibly, and so, we're trying to work together some, too, because he's a great guy and great to play with. Aaron Johnson, really fantastic. But, Ehud, we'd love to know a lot about you, but maybe some other time. So, can you? No. But who were your mentors on the piano?
Well, I was That's all okay. So I grew up in the suburbs of New York, and so since I was about 14 years old, I was going into the city to hear jazz, and so I heard a lot of these guys, most of them are no longer living, and I had the opportunity to hear people like Tommy Flanagan and Cedar Walton and Hank Jones a lot, and at Smalls, I got to meet this piano player named Frank Hewitt, who was a guy that was playing a lot in the 50s in New York, never really had any recognition, but was a guy that had been around the scene and been in the trenches. Also, Gil Coggins was another piano player that played with Miles Davis, so I got to kind of see these guys firsthand.
But you also, in addition to playing, because he's like a real proponent of the bebop school of piano playing, in addition to other things, but you've learned from older styles too, because you're a great stride piano player.
Yeah, I got into that stuff just because, being a piano player, you play a lot of different things. You play with singers, you play with bands, you play a lot of different styles of music in New York. And obviously just playing solo piano is a good way to make a living because you don't have to give money to anybody else.
Yeah, true. Why did you look at me like that when you said that? But who did you listen to on those?
We'll talk later, Joshua.
Yeah.
So then I was, I kind of got in. I heard a lot of different. All those guys I just mentioned played solo piano too. I mean, piano players always did that. You worked as singles and as trios, and also just the older style of jazz somehow. In some kind of way, people always relate to that somehow. I don't know why. Maybe just rhythmically or
Could you give them an example of
Absolutely.
kind of a real? Do you know what stride piano is? Maybe you could show them, actually, if you don't mind. Yeah.
So, stride piano is basically like the kind of hip modern way to play ragtime, and ragtime kind of was a written form of music, so you had kind of a thing like which everyone would kind of play. That's the way the part is. But the stride piano players, they orchestrated the music more, and they took the left hand lower, they put the chords higher, and then they played a lot of variations. So you took this basic thing, and then they kind of created variations on it, and it ended up sounding a lot different. So it might sound like this.
Why don't we do? We'll do one more song for this set. Let's play something that incorporates that style. Sure. With the, what else have we been doing? Dave, are you up for that? Yeah. Great. All right. He doesn't really say much, does he, Pete?
No, but he's thinking, man.
He's thinking all the time. Okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay.
Dave's he warms up slowly, but when he gets there, yeah. So I mean.
Yeah.
It'll be long after this show is over with.
Yeah, that's true. Sadly. I know, but yeah. Okay.
If you come out to the camper later.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. Wait, I have to introduce the song if you don't mind.
You have to do that while that music's going on. That's the whole point of that music.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, introduce the song.
Go ahead. Right now, we'd like to do a number. Well, my friend over there is. Go ahead, keep going then. Don't stop. Okay, please. This is a song that goes way back, and it's called "I Found a New Baby." Who has ever found an old baby, I ask you, but that's beside the point. Here we go. Mr. Ehud Asheri at the piano. Mr. Aaron Johnson. Mr. Dave Capteen. Mr. Gary Hobbs. Claire D. Pete Barbuti. Are you folks having a good time? Oh, that's great. So happy you're here. We're going to take a very brief intermission, then we're going to follow that with one more set. And before we take the intermission, I just want to make a... what the heck's going on here? What is this? Thank you. Everything now. Shadow puppet. Really? Oh, what? You know that. That's my dog. That's my dog, Honey Pie. It is, truly. She's a Havanese. How many people are dog owners out there? Yes. I love that dog. And it's the usual case. My wife wanted a dog, and I said, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. She's mine, and I'm hers. The dog actually, she wakes me up in the middle of the night to put her back to sleep when she can't sleep. We're best pals. And I just wanted to share Honey Pie with you. And just say one more announcement. We do have CDs for sale, and if I sell just 9 more, we'll have enough for Honey Pie's operation. Anyway, was that... I mean, it's really up to you folks. So, oh, I'm gonna burn for that. Back with some more music. Thank you, Honey Pie. Thank you all. Thanks so much.
It's my job, I have to move the mics around when you don't have a stagehand. Anyway, there is someone that I want to thank personally, and that's our mayor, Joe Henry. Really. And the reason, when I showed a little bit of this to the Rotary meeting and he saw what we were trying to do, he was the first person to come up and sponsor us and be our first sponsor, and it means a lot to me, Joe. And we work together, but thank you so much. All right, round 2.
We're going to open with one song, and we're going to bring everybody up here and get Claire D up here. And this is a great song called Pennies from Heaven. Here you are, my darling.
Only one person clapping. I thought it was because I didn't change my dress.
Just one more announcement. They told me how many CDs I've sold, and it's going to be a little dicey for Honey Pie so far, so you got one more chance after the show. Okay, please, go.
Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Then trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, there must be showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. team. Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You will find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down, and trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, there must be showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven. Pennies from heaven. Pennies from heaven for you and me. Thank you so much.
Claire D, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Okay. And right now it is time for himself. We've already given the introduction. That look at him. You're ready. All right, Mr. Pete Barbuti.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here in your beautiful city in the beautiful state of Oregon. Any California folks here? Nice to have you. Is it a vacation or a drug deal? They're all whacked, Californians. They're all whacked. I mean, you've been down to California. It doesn't rain for 7 years. And they don't even notice. You say, it hasn't rained for 7 years. You say, oh, they don't care. Then it rains for 7 minutes. The house they built on the hill slides down in the mud. They don't move out of the house. They stay. If there was you and me, we'd panic, we'd move out of the house. They stay there. The house is at the bottom of the hill. They don't care. They open the front and the back door. They get the Santa Ana winds. The mud blows out. The house is clean. No use moving. The house is clean. Then they get a little earthquake tremor. The house flips back over. And there used to be the floor becomes the ceiling, and the ceiling becomes the floor. And it's the same house. It's just a block from where they used to live. That's all. They don't care. Yeah, they're all weird. I live down in Las Vegas now. I know people say, oh, that's all mafia. No, that's not true. I mean, they get sick of hearing that, too. You never say that when you're down there, man. They have you killed. They got mafia everywhere. You know, I want to tell you, this is a true story. I swear to God. This is a true story. Now, you know this. This is a true story. In Coos Bay, Oregon. This is many years ago. I used to go fishing there. Bring my whole family up there. We'd go fishing out of Coos Bay. This is a true story. There was a little shopping center there. When I tell you little, I mean little. There was nothing there. There was like a shoe store, and there was a beer bar. They just sold beer. Couldn't even sell wine or whiskey, you know. And there was a market, a stupid little market. It was really small. It wasn't even a 7-Eleven, you know. 610. It was a 610 there. Now, this is a true story. This guy, Frankie, worked in a shoe store, and he went in the bar every night to get drunk because he hated his wife. He never wanted to go home. She used to spend all of his money in this stupid market, and he couldn't figure the whole thing out because they never had anything in the market. So one day he's talking to this guy, and the guy's got on about $1,000 suit. And Frankie says, you ain't from Coos Bay, Jack. And he says, no, I'm from Chicago. I'm spending the night, and I'm going to leave, drive over to Eugene, and fly out tomorrow morning, you know. And Frankie was drunk, so he bears his soul to this total stranger. You know, he says to the guy, first of all, what's your name? And the guy said, my name is Arthur, and I'm self-employed. And Frankie says, well, my name is Frankie. I work in a shoe store, and I come in every night because I hate my wife's guts, and I don't want to go home. And this guy, Arthur, says, I'm sorry to hear about your troubles, but life is complicated today. And Frankie said, what do you do for a living? He said, I'm self-employed. And they have a couple more beers. And Frankie says, what is this self-employed? And Arthur looks around. There's nobody else in the joint. This is kind of late at night. And Arthur says to him, I work for the mob. And Frankie couldn't believe it. It says, here in Coos Bay, the mob is everywhere. You know? And he said, well, you're probably like a bag man. You transport money and stuff. And this guy, Arthur, looks Frankie right in the eye. He says, no, I'm a hit man. This is a true story. I swear to God, this is a true story. And Frankie couldn't believe it. He said, how can you sit here and calmly tell me that you killed people? And this guy, Arthur, says, but I don't kill out of malice or contempt. To me, it's just a business. And Frankie was just drunk enough, don't you know? He said, boy, I wish I could afford you, have you kill my wife, because I really hate her guts. And this guy, Arthur, says, look, I can't do it for nothing because I'm a pro, but my plane doesn't leave till almost noon tomorrow. He said, give me $1 and I'll whack her on my way to the airport. This is a true story now. And so Frankie gives him $1 and a picture of his wife. Arthur parks his rented car at a Cadillac right out by this stupid market, and here comes Frankie's wife. She couldn't wait to spend this poor guy's hard-earned money, man. And Arthur knows her from the picture. He ducks down behind the car. She walks by. Arthur jumps up from behind, grabs her from behind, and he strangled her to death. You know? Excuse me, just a minute. It's not like you people have so much to do when I'm up here. A little emotion, like I just said, a lady got strangled. And when you hear you guys go, oh. Yes, sir. And now he's stuffing her body into the trunk so he could dispose of the body. But it was summertime, and she had thongs on, of course, and her thongs fell off, and he forgot he had his luggage in the trunk. And his golf clubs were in there, too. And his 9-iron had slid out of the bag, and her toes got chicken-footed on the 9-iron. And this is a true story. And he couldn't get her into the trunk. She kept springing back up, and he hears this voice say, what's going on over there? He looks. Here's the stupid kid, the box boy, who wheels the carts in like at the end of the day. They only have the one cart. It's not much of a gig, you know. And this kid starts walking over. And Arthur says, what the heck? I'm doing a freebie like for a lousy $1 and I'm going to have an eyewitness? I don't think so. So he ducks down. This kid comes over, looks in the trunk, sees Frankie's dead wife in there, her toes chicken-footed on the 9-iron. And he's just ready to scream. And Arthur jumps up behind him, grabs this kid, and he strangles this kid to death. Now, Arthur's got to stuff this kid's body in the trunk, too. But this kid was wearing one of those elastic bands that make you wear, like for lifting purposes at the supermarket for insurance. Got caught on Frankie's dead wife's head, and his body kept springing out of the trunk because her toes were still chicken-footed on the 9-iron. This is a true story. Now, here comes Miss Busybody Neighbor from across the street. She says, I saw everything that happened. I called the Oregon Highway Patrol. You're in a lot of trouble, Jack. He said, is that right? He grabs her and strangles her to death. Now he's stuffing her body in the trunk. It took so long to get the bodies in that, in fact, the Highway Patrol showed up. And this guy, Arthur, he was tried and convicted, and he's doing life in prison here in Oregon. That's the way it should be. What bugged me is that stupid market down there in Coos Bay is the biggest thing that ever happened there. Next day, the owner of the market, he put it up on the marquee, bigger than life. It said, artichokes 3 for $1. That's a true story. Yeah. Anyway, we'd like to continue along because this is a music show, and I'd like to do my part for music here. I love jazz. I don't do any country music. I know people like country today. I don't particularly care for it. It's not that I don't like it. It's just hard to believe that many people can live that long and never have one good day. You know, what the hell is their story? You know. You never hear a country guy say, me and the wife are doing good. Dog had puppies and the truck is running good. It's always a litany of everything that could be wrong with their lives. And then it kills me because they just end the song whenever they want to. You know, it doesn't matter how many bars are in it or anything. You know. We was going down the highway, the big old Ford car was going down the road, was really going far. And up the other side of the road come a big old truck loaded down with lead. He blew a left front tire, coming across the divider, hit our car right in the head. Yee-hoo! There we was, laying on the freeway. There's blood and guts all over the road. And the ambulance came, slamming the brakes, get on the guts, ran into the back of the gasoline truck, and it exploded and burned the woods, and all the deers died. And the dead deers fell in the river, and the fish ate the deer, and the fish died. And the birds ate the fish, and all the birds died. That's why I love you, baby. They got some weirdness there, Jack. Anyway, this song I like to play for you was originally a French-Canadian folk song. Any Canadians here? Of course, Canadians are everywhere. You know, they close it during the winter. They got a big answering machine. There's nobody up there, trust me. Shouldn't pick on the Canadians. But the Canadians pick on each other too, you know. Like everybody has jokes about somebody. The Canadians, the people from Newfoundland, are treated like pariahs. They call them Newfies, like they're stupid, and that's not true. You shouldn't do jokes like that. Like the Newfie guy went ice fishing and cut a hole in the ice, and he put the bait in, and he heard this big voice say, "There are no fish in there." So he moved over about 8 feet, cut another hole in the ice, put the bait in, same voice. "There are no fish in there." All afternoon, he's cutting the hole. Every time he puts the bait in, the same voice. "There are no fish." And finally, threw down a stupid fishing pole. He said, "Are you God?" And the voice said, "No, I'm the arena announcer." See, nobody's going to laugh at that. Anyway, this was a French-Canadian folk song. And then the late Johnny Mercer, who's still dead, he wrote beautiful words for this song. And we know this song is Autumn Leaves, and I like to play a few on the piano. And since this is like sort of a quasi-music eclectic with class, there's a little bit of a classic, a Beethoven sonata superimposed over Autumn Leaves, so I hope you enjoy this. Not that you should need a reason like to play Beethoven. Guy was a genius. 500 years ago, his music is still here. He didn't make $9, but his music will live forever. And nobody believed in Beethoven when he was writing the beautiful music. They said, it's not. His own wife didn't believe him. Think of that, Beethoven's own wife. Yeah, he said to her, "Someday I'm going to write a symphony." And she mocked him. She made fun of him. She said, "Wait a minute, you're going to write a symphony?" Ha, 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 ha. Can I get security out here, please? So this is a little Autumn Leaves, a little Beethoven, and I'd like to play it on the piano. Anybody here from Coos Bay? Good to have you here. See a lot of comedians. They say, if you're from a small town like Coos Bay, don't admit it. The comedian will pick on you and make fun of your town. I would never do that. Like I say, I've been to Coos Bay, and it's an honor to have you in the audience, and I mean that very much. Here's the piano. You never saw anything this big didn't have John Deere written on it. I'm going to tell you right up front, I do not read music. But you get these snottos who come in here. You know what I mean? The Bay Area people who just come up here to vacation. If you don't have like classical music, the sheet music, oh, he's not classically trained. So you put the music up there. You say, oh, he's classically trained. This is Ehud's music. Now, you know how brilliant he is. He teaches music in New York. This is the kind of music he reads. It says here, starting note, second white key up from the group of 3 blacks. Counting up from the R in Steinway. Strike this note until the drummer smiles. People think you just sit down on that piano stool. It's got to be in the same key. So you got to tune the piano stool. It take a little extra time, you know. I happen to have perfect stool, and I just want that thing. Thank you very much. Wait a minute. If you can put a rock beat to that, I think we got something there. Anyway, thank you. I'd like to a little bit of something unusual to close the show, a little bit serious. I like to do a little bit of a tone poem. And I think sometimes you hear little things, I think they're things that make you think. Can I have a little poetry music? Hey, just a little poetry music. Can I have the poetry lights, please? There, that's better. Swear to God. We come in here for rehearsal, I said to the lighting guy, I said, what kind of special effects do you have? He said, we got 2 special effects, on and off. And just before the show, yeah. See? Just before the show, he called backstage, he said, off is broke. We look at tomorrow and we see today. We look at yesterday and what is left. Man is not what he was. He is neither tomorrow nor today. Hold it, will you? Okay, I got him back. They're no good when they're like this, right? Except when you accidentally put too much hot water in the bathtub. Then you turn on the cold water and you sit in the tub and you do this. You think of that. Everybody in the world, race, creed, color, status in life, it doesn't matter. If you're in the tub and the water's hot, you're doing that, Jack. And your eyes open wide and you hum a high note. Woo! Everybody in the world does that. Except in Australia, of course, you would. Anyway. No man is an island. I think we all know what that means. I have no idea. Somebody wrote that, spray painted it on a wall once, and then people said, whoa, that's deep. No man is an island. It's stupid. Doesn't mean anything. No cinder block is a chipmunk. There. I want to tell you that if you're fortunate enough to come back here tomorrow night, we're supposed to have a big crowd tomorrow night. I want you to know that you couldn't have been any better. You're an absolute wonderful audience. We talked about it at halftime back there, and said we're thrilled that you're not large in numbers, but the ones of you that are here are what the hell do we say? I don't remember, but anyway, for my part of the show, I want to thank you very much. I'd like to bring up the man again to get this band going against. Mr. Kenny Peplowski, the one and only.
Pete Barbuti. Oh my God. Oh. Isn't he fantastic, really? Right? And incidentally, if you do come tomorrow night, and I hope you do, you're going to hear... we're going to play a whole different show, different songs, everything, and Pete's got a whole another thing for you, crazy thing, which I don't even want to tell you about. So, what's that? Yeah, who asked you? Anyway, no, I'm kidding. I'm really kidding. Wait, this isn't the Phil Donahue show. It's not an open forum, No, actually, we like it when the audience is alive. We like that, actually. That's really good. You are, seriously, he's absolutely right. You are a great audience to play for, honestly. Really. Much appreciated. So we're going to bring everybody up here, and including you, young lady. Yes. She's going to do an interpretive dance right now, the history of jazz in 5 minutes, please. Wow. Please, we're... Very good. Oh, thank you. That's very good. All right. Okay. Aaron, just relax. Everything's fine. Okay. Blue Room. And right now, we're going to play a little duet on a beautiful song by a British composer named Jack Strachey. You'll know this one. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're going to do one more number. I hope you've had a good time tonight. Have you? Thank you. Come back tomorrow, please. We've got a new show for you. We're going to do one more song and have Claire D join us for this. And thank you, and we'll see you after the show, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Aaron, not. Okay, come on, please. Aaron Johnson. What do we have?
Can't take that away from me.
You're right.
Did you hear that? Yeah, if I...
Thank you.
the way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, they can't take that away from me. The way your smile just beams, the way you sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, they can't take that away from me. We may never, ever meet again on the road to love. Still, I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you've changed my life. No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me. The way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, they can't take that away from me. How your smile just beams, the way you sing off key, how you haunt my dreams. No, they can't take that away from me. We may never, ever, ever meet again on that bumpy road to love. Still, I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, how we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away. Oh no, they can't take that away. I said they can't take that away from me.
Miss Claire D. Aaron Johnson. Ehuda Sherry. Dave Capteen. Gary Hobbs. Pete Barbuti. Ken Peplowski. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You've been a wonderful audience. And we'll see you in this beautiful town over the next couple of days. Thank you.
I said they can't.